Hi there folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Now, I spoke recently and I did a review of those interesting Czech Republic kits of the MiG-19, and it was saying that it normally goes up against the F-100D Super Sabre in Vietnam. Well, here it is from Italeri. By the way, I got pulled up recently. Somebody said to me, I pronounced it Italeri, and said it's Italeri. And actually, we're both right because they were Italeri, so it's Ital, A-E-R-I. Now they've dropped the second A. It's now Italeri. So, and I'll show you. There is a kit coming up where I can prove that because it actually has the other name on it. So, anyway. My relationship with Italeri has not been great. I'm sure some of you would like me to do let's talk about Italeri. Probably not going to be honest. They're not one of my favourite manufacturers. And yeah, I've had a bit of a mixed relationship with them really. I did my 1/48 scale Hurricane, Battle Britain Hurricane, and frankly wasn't very impressed with it. This is the one where they'd partnered up with Tamiya. I thought I was buying a Tamiya, but I was actually getting Italeri, and it wasn't great. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about the Super Sabre. It's one of the first of the century jets. Really got big use in Vietnam, of course, and very impressive machine indeed. Now, this one, interestingly, comes with markings for the Royal Danish Air Force, which is an interesting option. We don't see so much of, but of course they use plenty of them. Or the Air Force of Djibouti. The French Air Force? Is it the French Air Force? French Air Force, of course, the French bought these. So it's the French Air Force in Djibouti, in Africa, 1978. Quite an interesting, unusual couple of options, but of course that is in addition to the American version, which is there as well. So we've got, we've got the markings for all three. So let's have a look at those markings. So here's your USAF version, and does it actually tell us which one that is? Because that would be nice to know. Yes, it's the US Air Force 354th Tactical Fighter Wing in 1958. So there we go. Some lovely markings, got to say. Very, yeah, very nice. They're not the most. I actually thought this had a carrier film over the top of it because they're not the most. Yeah, they're aging a little bit. These are, aren't they? I think they look a bit worse for wear, shall we say? Anyway, we've got Shark's Mouth, which is on the, was it the Djibouti one, the French Air Force version? Yes, yes, you can see it there. The Shark's Mouth. There it is. So that's the French Air Force, and then we've got the Danish markings here. Very nice decals, just a little bit, perhaps a bit aged, I think is the word I'm looking for. Right, well, aren't we all? Mustn't be too cheeky. This is one of those kits that was lent to us by David, and I say, because of the Vietnam connection, I thought it was another interesting one to include, as we'd had the MiG-19S, and this is its natural enemy really. So, let's see if there's a bit of a write-up, and there is. The F-100 Super Sabre was the first supersonic fighter of the US Air Force during the 1950s. With its introduction, it revolutionised the aviation technology with the conception of air power during that period. The first versions had minor problems, and the aircraft only became very reliable with the introduction of the D version. This is the D, yeah. This version. It was extensively used in the initial stages of the Vietnam War. The F-100 was also in service with the French Air Force, which used it during the various African conflicts, and of course other NATO countries including Denmark, as you see here, and Turkey. So, length 14 metres, wingspan of just under 12 metres, MAW. Maximum weight, it doesn't actually give the figure, that's very strange. Maximum speed 1,465 kilometres an hour, yes it can shift. A range of 860 kilometres, an armament 4 20mm cannons, bombs, rocket launchers, and up to 1.8 tons of air. Rocket launchers up to 1.8 tons. 4 AIM-9 air-to-air missiles, sidewinders, and 2 air-to-ground. 2 air-to-ground, 12 air-to-surface missiles. Right, okay. Let's have a look, because I think it's going to be fairly rudimentary in terms of instructions, actually. Not going to be a complicated build. It's 1/72, of course. So, what have we got? Sprue tree map. Then we're going to build up our fairly basic looking seat, it must be said. Then we've got our, just tell you to put 20 grams of nose weight in, which is good and helpful. And you're going to build up your little cockpit and then put that inside between the two fuselage halves. Then we're going to bring in our nose intake, the top of the instrumentation cowling with the gun sight, bringing down our canopy, putting on the tailplane, horizontal stabilisers. We've got a couple of wing fences to stop aero bleed over the end of the wings, which is kind of a little bit of a, on the real aircraft, I mean, it's kind of a bit of an admission that they haven't quite got the aerodynamics right to me, but anyway, it's a bit crude, wing fences like that. We see that in Formula 1 cars, but even they are done in a bit more of an integrated and graceful manner. And then you've got, interestingly, over on this side, you've got a couple of different refuelling probe options. So you've got one that's a straight probe under the wing, one that canters up to put its height just a little bit higher, really. And then we've got big air brakes, interestingly, huge air brakes to help slow it down on landing. We've got what looks like an arrestor hook, a big long arrestor hook, and then we've got 2 different versions of the tailpipe. Okay, we'll have a look at that later. Then we've got the doors and the gear coming in here, and then actually bringing those in. It's a twin front wheel, nose wheel setup with single big beefy wheels for the main gear, and yeah, our tanks and bombs being constructed here. And then bringing those in with a couple of bombs, a couple of tanks. Looks like there's a very long... Is that a tank? I think it's a napalm tank, isn't it? One's a napalm tank and one is an additional fuel tank. I think the napalm tank is the smaller of the two. And then we've got the call-outs really with your decals for your 354 Tactical Fighter Wing in 1958 in the States. Used in Vietnam, obviously. Then you've got the Djibouti-based French Air Force here with their Shark's Mouth, and then you've got the Canadian Royal Air Force, Royal Danish Air Force. Doesn't say where they're based. In 1961, and that is that. It's okay. So let's have a look at the plastic, which is over here. And do you know what? This is rather nice, I've got to say. 72nd scale kit. Look at some of the detail we've got here. Some really nice panel detail, lovely engraving and detail on the rudder. Nice, isn't it? Look at that. Superb. Good fine detail on the wings, ailerons and the flaps. You've got your horizontal stabilisers, you've got your drop tank here, additional fuel tanks. Great detail again on the brakes on the main gear, wheels and tyres. And you've got your little nose wheel and tyres there. And look at the detail we've got here with the gear legs. That's absolutely phenomenal. Look at that. Brake lines are all included and everything. That looks absolutely superb. Very impressive. And then we've got our napalm tanks over here. You've got your nose air intake there. And then turning it around, we've got these 2 different options, 2 different versions of tailpipe. Was it an afterburner engine on this? I'm not quite sure about that. I don't think it was. Reheat. I don't think it had reheat. Perhaps some of the experts amongst you can let me know if I've got that wrong. And then we've got the underside of the wing, which is all in one great big piece, including the central section of the fuselage as well. And again, there's some quite nice detail in there for a 72nd scale kit. And then you've got these various different, I mentioned the 2 different types of refueling probe, which you can see there very clearly. One's straight, that one at the bottom, and you've got this one that cants up over the wing to raise it up. I think the idea here is it's easy for the pilot to see. I think that's what that's about. I think the straight out one is all well and good, but I think it's quite tricky for the pilot to actually, not because it's not at pilot height. I think the other one is close to the height of the pilot in the cockpit. And I suspect what they're trying to do there is trying to make it a little bit easier to judge when they're trying to do air-to-air refueling. Then you've got your pylons, and over here we've got a couple of the bombs, free-fall bombs, and you've got your cockpit interior. And it's very clean looking, isn't it? It's Italeri, and I've had a couple of theirs that have been very, very flashy in the past, but not the case here. It seems really nice, actually. It's quite a crisp little kit, that is. If you like your Century jets, I'm personally not a big fan of them, but it's just not my personal sort of era either. It's not just that they're American. I wasn't that interested in British 50s aircraft either, to be quite honest. It's in the 60s that my interest sort of peaks, I think, in aircraft. American or British. And here we've got the canopy, and if you look closely, we've got, it's got some quite good frame detail. It has this like a split little frame, doesn't it? And behind the main canopy is where the radio gear is, I believe. Yeah, interesting. Very nice. Nice kit. Nothing wrong with that at all. Better than expected, if I'm perfectly honest, because I'm not Italeri's biggest fan. I've had, again, it's like everywhere, I've had one or two bad experiences and it's put me off them a little bit. We did have the Tornado, the 32nd scale Tornado, big kit that. And that looked very nice, in all fairness. I think I actually sold mine on there. I like the kit, but I just couldn't imagine building it because of its size, no other reason. I just couldn't imagine what I'd do with it once it was completed, so that got passed on in the end, and I sold it on. That was the one where I initially had slightly damaged, detached clear parts, and we'd actually got from the importer, Hobbyco, who were very helpful to me at the time, and they got me a second set, so I was able to sell 2 sets, so the person who bought that got a real bargain, really. Anyway, there we go. So, marks out of 10. Yeah, I mean, there's 1 or 2 areas where it perhaps could have been a little bit better. I don't think the instructions are overly impressive, and it's not very clear about, on the box about which versions you can build. It is on the back, but it almost gives the impression that you build those 2 and you don't get the American one, but you do, of course. It's a little bit confusing the way they've done it. Don't like the end opening box. I think I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. I think that's fair. Quite a good kit though, there's a lot going for it. It seems very finely finished, quite finessed in some of the parts, like those wheels and tyres and the exhaust at the back. Very nicely done, very nicely done. So, 9 out of 10. Well done, Italeri. Hope you'll give me 10 out of 10 with a thumbs up. Give us a like. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Costs you nothing. And if you are a subscriber, don't forget to double check that you have dinged the notification bell and selected all, because that stops YouTube from then picking and choosing which of my videos it thinks you might like. So for example, if you don't look at many tank videos, model tanks, it might not warn you that I'm doing a model tank vid, and I think that's a little bit irritating. I get the same problem where I don't get told of everybody's material, and there are certain YouTubers that I like watching their material. I want to have the option to watch all of them, not have it selected for me. You know what I mean? I'd rather just say, "Oh no, I'm not watching that. I'm not interested in that particular subject." I'd rather make that choice myself than have it done for me and not know that something's come up. And some of you have been complaining about this, saying that you've not been informed, and I don't understand it. It's something about the algorithm that's got a bit mad. Nothing at my end, I'm sure, because. And it's funny, certain YouTubers get it. I mean, my wife's, she is a subscriber, obviously. She gets told about all my stuff, but some of you aren't, so it's very strange. Anyway, ding that all, because I think that will help you. Anyway, in the meantime, until next time, We'll be coming up soon with some more interesting stuff, but until then, thank you very much for joining me and your time. Please look after yourselves, and until next time, thanks a lot, and bye for now.